my name is Sydney Hanson, and I am the illustrator of Escargot. Let's see, I've been illustrating for a while, probably 10 years at this point. It actually wasn't my first job. I used to be a computer animator, which means that I made movies like Shrek or worked on 3D movies, basically. But on the side, I love to draw. I've always loved to draw since I was very little. And it was always a thing that I just did as a hobby. But then I started doing it more and more and realized that maybe I wanted to do it as a job. So I started working on it after my real job at work and just started trying all kinds of things, painting and drawing, like all different mediums. I tried oil painting. That didn't go well, but I might revisit it at some point in my life. So just a lot of experimenting. And then I kind of realized that I really liked drawing illustrations for kids' books, and kind of thought about maybe this should be my job. Maybe I should pursue this, but it just didn't seem realistic. It just was never something that I had really thought about. So I just kept kind of working on the side. And then I realized that I could do social media, which was becoming a thing while I was becoming artistic, and started sharing my work, and just getting it out there helped me find an illustration agent. And what he did is help me find really cool writers like Dashka that had written stories that fit my art style. And so I could start actually illustrating books, which is kind of amazing. Escargot was one of my first books. I only did a couple before that, and it's one of my favorites because he's just such a dapper little snail. And yeah, so that's kind of my story about how I got into illustrating. Like I said, I always loved to draw from when I was little, but I pretty much only drew two things, which is horses and dragons. It's not a lot of variety. So when I got a little older, I realized I might have to expand my skill set, and I just started drawing things in nature because I also love being outside. I love just hiking, running, camping, backpacking. It's like my favorite thing to do. And you come across a lot of neat animals and plants and things like that. So it's pretty easy to just keep a journal and, draw what I see, and maybe add some cute little outfits if I feel inclined to do so. So that's what I do. It's what I do all the time now. I pretty much just spend time out in the trees drawing animals and making things cute. That's what I do. So that's my story about how I became an illustrator. And there you go.
So I'm Dashka Slater. I'm the author of Escargot. And like Sydney, I started out as a writer when I was a kid. It was actually the only thing that I ever wanted to do, which maybe shows a little lack of imagination. I did, have a few other ideas, like I was going to be a pilot maybe, and something that involved having a lot of cats. But mostly what I wanted to do was write, and it's what I did. I have older siblings, but they are much older than me, and so I was kind of the only kid in the house for most of the time, and so I spent a lot of time by myself making little worlds for my animals and pottery and anything. I just made whole little scenes for them. I drew all the time and I wrote all the time. And I actually dug out some of my first books. This is called The Bare-Bellied Thumbsucker by Dashka Slater. And you can see I also drew dragons, Sydney. So I would just write stories and poems and stuff, and sometimes I would put them into little folders. I would tape them up, and I would make a title page for them, and sometimes I just write them in my notebooks. And eventually I grew up, and I kind of hadn't come up with anything else to do the pilot thing, I never figured out how to fly a plane, so that didn't seem like it was going to work. So I just kept writing, and here I am. And this is where I do most of my writing. Although I have to say, I've been writing on my back deck quite a bit lately as well, because it's been so beautiful out. But this is where I am, and this is what I do. I write books for kids, 2 Escargot books, and working on the 3rd, a bunch of other picture books. I also write for adults, fiction and nonfiction for adults, fiction and nonfiction for kids. And I think the child me would not be surprised at all that I'm doing the exact same things that never occurred to her to do anything else. So we decided that after an awkward pause that we would read Escargot together. And what we are going to do is we're going to alternate pages. We have never done this before, so it's going to be interesting. This is completely unrehearsed, reading together, a joint author and illustrator reading of a book for Escargot. And in order to do that, I'm going to share my screen.
Escargot. There he is.
And there we go.
Look at that little snail.
All right. So this is a book for Escargot. The story is by me, the pictures by Sydney. And let's figure out how we get there. Bonjour. I see you are reading a book. I will try not to distract you. It can be distracting to have a very beautiful French snail staring at you while you read.
My name is Escargot, and I am on my way to check out a book at the library. It will be a French cookbook filled with delicious French recipes. Escargot is going to cook something new. You should try something new as well. Have you ever kissed a snail? Now might be a good time to try it.
While we are traveling to the cookbook section, we can talk. Tell me, what is your favorite book? Is it Goldie Tentacles and the 3 Snails? Harry Gastropother and the Chamber of Salads? Goodnight Snail? The Very Hungry Snail? Where the Wild Snails Are?
There are so many books to choose from. Books about dog superheroes and guinea pig detectives and flamingo astronauts and halibut firefighters, all having exciting adventures. But I must tell you something sad about these books. So sad you might cry. I am crying just thinking about it. Will you wipe my eyes for me? And also my nose. It's okay to use your sleeve.
Okay, now I will tell you the very sad thing. None of these books is about a daring snail hero who saved the day. All the books about the snail make a joke about slow snail or shy snail. I am not laughing at this joke.
You do not look like a laughing at snails person. You look like a clever person who reads serious books about handsome animals. You probably know many fancy words. With these fancy words, you could write, a story extraordinaire like the gallant gastropod gallivanted. Oh, sorry, the Zoom thing is blocking the. Ugh. There we go. With these fancy words, you could write a sentence extraordinaire like the gallant gastropod gallivants to the rescue, which is another way of saying the daring snail hero saves the day.
Tell me, have you ever written a book? You should try it. Do not worry. Escargot will help you. It is just like cooking from a recipe. Add the ingredients, mix them together, and voila, a perfect story. You must begin by introducing the main character. Once upon a time, there was a very beautiful French snail hero. If you want, you can add some details about my most beautiful parts, like my shiny brown shell, or my translucent tentacles, or my chic outfit. Oh la la, you might need to get more paper.
But perhaps you think the main character of our story must have a problem, Escargot. You are so handsome, suave, and smart. What problem could you possibly have? I will tell you. Always I eat salad with a few croutons and a light vinaigrette. It is magnifique. But one day I wake up and I have a strange feeling. I am bored. Bored of eating salad.
Maybe I will learn to cook a green bean or a souffle or a ratatouille. Anything could happen when you have a daring snail hero like Escargot. But perhaps you think, I cannot wait to find out what you will cook, Escargot. Let us get to the cookbook right away. Mais non, it cannot be so easy. First, the daring French snail hero must overcome an obstacle. Like this one, for example.
Escargot is very far above the cookbook. The cookbook is very far below Escargot. But a daring French snail hero is not afraid of heights. A daring French snail hero can overcome this obstacle by flying. You don't believe that Escargot can fly? Count to 3, and I will show you. 1, 2, 3.
That was too fast. I wasn't ready. Maybe you should count in French. 1, 2, 3. Still too fast. I think maybe I need a little push.
Did you see me fly? I was like an eagle. I just had a little trouble with the landing. But that does not matter, because I have arrived at the cookbook, and now we will have the resolution of the story. This is the happy part at the end, where the daring French snail hero solves his problem of being bored with salad by using the cookbook to make a delicious feast. Bon appetit!
But this is not the right cookbook. This cookbook is not about cooking food for Escargot. This cookbook is about cooking Escargot for food. The ingredients: garlic, butter, me. What if a French chef comes to the library to check out this book? He will cook Escargot for dinner. You must tell the chef to choose a recipe for French toast, or French bread, or French fries. Anything, but not beautiful French snail. Also, could you cover me with your hand so he cannot see me?
While I am inside my shell, not hiding, but more like having a private moment, you can continue writing. I will start the sentence, and you can finish it. Escargot, the daring French snail hero, was not eaten by the French chef because...
Uh-oh. Escargot might have eaten the cookbook. I do not think I will be learning how to cook the green bean or the ratatouille or the souffle. But on the other hand, Nobody will be learning how to cook me.
The daring French snail has defeated the dangerous recipe. Escargot has saved the day. The book we have written, it is magnifique. And do you know how it ends? With a kiss. Mwah.
Mwah.
The end. All right.
Yay, we did it. I think we make a pretty good team, Sydney.
I am very impressed with your French accent, I must say.
You know, every once in a while, somebody who really is like a native French speaker reads the book, and then I realize that my French accent isn't as good as I like to pretend. I listened to someone read it on who was doing a little story time at a school who was French, and the way he said escargot, I was just like, okay, I guess that's how you say it.
I know, and even French accents are so beautiful. Like, it's just like the language. Well done. It's just, I wish I could speak some French. I've actually been trying have you ever used Duolingo, the app?
Yes.
It's kind of fun. Like, I've been working on my French and my Spanish.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've planned to do. But like most of my pandemic self-improvement projects, that hasn't quite happened yet. So, which kind of is a good segue, actually, for me to talk about pandemic creativity. You know, we're all in our homes, locked down, trying to shelter in place, and that makes it a great time to write. And so I have a lot of experience because it's what I do, and it's what I did always when I was a kid. When I was by myself and I didn't have someone to play with, I would just make up my own characters that I like to play with, which was actually how Escargot was born. Was that I was doing a bookstore event, and it was my first children's book, and I was really nervous and I needed company. And so I found a snail puppet, and it turned out to be Escargot, and he came with me to all my bookstore visits and library visits and school visits for years. So I really think that working on making something is a great way to spend the time and to feel less lonely and to have a way to disappear outside of your house and go on adventures. And Escargot, in A Book for Escargot, gives you the recipe for how to come up with a story. And it's pretty simple. You start out with a character, and your character can be anything in the world. It can be a very beautiful French snail. It can be a person. It could be someone from another planet. It can be an animal. It can be a vegetable. It could be a turnip. It could be like a fork. It could be a doorknob. It can be anything in the world that you think might be fun to spend some time with. And then you give some details about your character. You come figure out what your character might look like, what they might like, what they dislike. And then you give your character a problem. And one way that I like to think of a problem is something that your character wants but can't have. So remember, Escargot says you have to have an obstacle to getting that problem. So one way to think about it is very, very simple. My character wants, and then you come up with what they want, but they can't have it because, and that's your obstacle. So my character is a turnip, and my character, the turnip, wants to be a YouTube star. Why can't my character, the turnip, be a YouTube star? Well, maybe because my character has never heard of a turnip being a YouTube star and feels like it's not a job for turnips. Maybe because the turnip doesn't sing very well and thinks you have to be a good singer. Maybe the turnip has a friend who says you can't do that because turnips aren't good at being YouTube stars. You come up with some ideas for what's getting in the way. And when you figure out what's going to happen next, how your turnip or snail or person or space alien or doorknob is going to overcome their problems, then your story is underway. So I hope that you will do kind of like what I did when I was a kid and just start writing and see where your imagination takes you.
That's wonderful. All right. And also, I mean, like you said, you have drawings included in your beautiful stories. So that's kind of a similar, I have a similar process, but I usually start with the drawings, move on to the writing. And on that note, I might do a little drawing of Escargot to see if we can, let's see, actually, let me just grab my notepad. It's going to be just a second. Here we go. So what I have here is a giant pad of watercolor paper, which is my favorite thing to use. But honestly, you can use whatever you want to draw escargot. You don't have to draw escargot. You can draw whatever you want. You can bake. You can paper mache. You can, you know, grab some charcoal. The whole thing about, you know, coming up with a story and being artistic is that it should make you feel happy, and it should make you feel like you can express yourself in whichever way you choose. It doesn't have to be, you know, exactly like what I'm doing. I'm just going to, you know, give you a few little tips. So when you're drawing, it's kind of like actual exercise, and you want to do a warm-up. So how we could warm up to draw a snail, I think the best way is probably to draw spirals, because their little shells are just little loop-de-loops. So what you might do with your pad of paper, you see this, just do some little spirals, do some warm-ups. And like I said, these things, you know, they don't have to be spirals. You don't have to draw a snail right now if you don't want to draw a snail. You know, you can draw, sometimes I love to warm up with leaves. I just like doing little bits of foliage, you know, or let's see, we could draw a little deer, give him some antlers. You know, it's whatever you're kind of feeling, whatever strikes your fancy. So now that I've drawn a little reindeer, some leaves, and some spirally shells, maybe we should draw escargot since he's so beautiful. Okay, so you warm up, you do some little spirals, do some doodles, you know, see how you're feeling, and then that's what we're going to start with escargot, because that's kind of his main thing, his beautiful brown shell. So look at that. We just start with a spiral, and you have your shell. And then what you're going to do is draw kind of a curved, almost a square shape, and draw the same line so that they kind of repeat each other like that. And then you're going to draw his little snail bottom, which is basically just a little V, whoop, that meets up with this line. There's his little snail body. And what we can do before we draw his little face is add his little striped shirt, which is basically just a little tube shirt, little turtleneck, and add those little stripy stripes. And if you have different color markers, by all means, add the beautiful blues, the lovely reds, you know. And then his little tentacles. So we go, woo! And see, the thing about escargot is his tentacles are like his hands. It's how he expresses himself. So I'm drawing these little tentacles straight up, but you could, you know, make him waving or painting or whatever you want to do with his little cute little tentacles. Actually, I'll make one just saying hello, a little curved tentacle. And then, oh, you know what I almost forgot is his little handkerchief. So all that is a little triangle, and add these little ties, just like that. And his eyes are just two big circles, because he has big expressive eyes and cute little escargot pupils. And then his little smile. He's always smiling because he's a very happy snail. Let's see. There we go. Now, what did I forget? A very important part, his little beret. Doot, 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 doot. And there he is, Escargot. Actually, we can add some little spots on there. Perhaps a slimy trail. And let's see, since maybe we want to tell a story, I feel like Escargot maybe should be doing something. How about we give him a little paintbrush. And he can be drawing a picture of himself. And there we go. So that's just some little tips on how to draw our favorite little snail. But like I said, you know, if you chose to draw a hippopotamus or a tree or a turnip, you know, fantastic. Just, you know, draw what you like, draw what you see, draw what makes you happy. And that's all I've got. All right.
So I did it. Did you do it? I hope you did. And one thing that you can do is just take your paper, fold it up, and put your story in it, draw your pictures, and then you've made a book. And then, you know, you're just like us. You're bookmakers. So I hope that that's what you're going to do with some of your time that you're in your house. And the rest of the time, maybe you can go outside and look for snails.
Ooh,
Sydney,
yes.
do you have snails in your backyard?
Oh my gosh, we do. And I love them. Like, I spend a little too much time too when I find them on the sidewalk. I'm like, I need to move you out of the way into a safe spot. So I spend a lot of time relocating. I don't know if you do that, but
I do, and I get very worried about them because the snails in my garden have very fragile shells. I don't know what that is. I think they're not getting enough calcium. And so I'm always like, I want to move them off of the plants that they want to eat, but I want to do it really, really carefully and not injure their delicate little shells.
I just read about that. Like, apparently you're not supposed to pick them up by the shell because that can hurt them. So you're supposed to just kind of scoot them and then relocate them. I thought that was interesting because that's how I've been doing it. I always pick them up by their shells, but now I know. Like, oh, you just got to prop.
Yeah, they just need a little push, just like Escargot before he's about to fly.
Left in the right direction. That's awesome.
So I think we might be out of time. I don't know. But this has been so fun. I just have to say, as a side note, Sydney and I have never met before. So this is our first time that we get to hang out together.
It's so fun. I'm so excited about this.
Yeah. So this has been great. Thanks to the Bay Area Book Festival for bringing us together.